show you guys a tip that every guard passer should know. It's something that really helped my guard passing game out a long time ago. It's something where as soon as I started doing this, and again, this is something that's very simple. You don't have to drill this 1,000 times or anything like that. But again, if you've ever been passing the guard, and as soon as you pass the guard, the person brings their legs right back in front of you. If that kind of thing happens to you, then this little simple tip, I guarantee is going to help you just like it helped me back in the day. So with that said, let's jump into the technique. As always, this is my lovely assistant, Mr. Adam Wilson. Let's get started. So what I was talking about is, let's say if you're passing the guard, I don't know if this has ever happened to you before, you pass the guard and the person somehow or another immediately brings those legs back in front, and you did all this friggin' work and then for nothing, they're right back here. Here's a really simple tip that you can implement. Like I said, it doesn't take much to do, but it's something just to be conscious of. And that is connect something to this hip or control this hip when you pass the guard, okay? So let me give you a couple examples. Let's say that I'm passing the guard. I typically want to have either a knee, a hand, my hip, switch in reverse case of Tommy, or my knee connected. That's one thing. Now again, why is that important? Because if I pass his guard and I immediately block this right here, if he tries to get his leg back in front, go ahead. He's not going to be able to. Super important. Again, I see a lot of times, and again, I would say this is mostly for most of you blue and white belts and blue belts, but I've seen plenty of people get really tight in side control and they leave space and the person just weasels that position in. They're squeezing as hard as possible, but they won't have something connected to the near side hip and brings it right back in front. Now in some cases, it can be tough. You may not be able to block the hip initially, and then that's where you can just go into controlling the near side hip. So for instance, if I do a bullfighter pass, I might go bullfighter pass, hanging onto the knee and then as I'm getting here. Now I hang onto this leg, so if he tries to get his hip down to the ground, which would go to trip down, which would allow him to then throw this leg in and everything else. If I control this leg and keep the hip up, go and try to get down, you can't. Same thing sometimes where if I get into a position where I pass the guard and my opponent is bringing that knee in, I'll literally grab this leg in some cases and pull up. And again, this is kind of a weird position, but as long as I'm able to control this hip, if he tries to turn towards me, he can't. And so again, it's a simple idea. But back in the day when I was a white belt and blue belt, and even a little into purple belt, I would fight super hard to get to side control. And then once I got there, I would leave tons of space on that near side hip. And when I did that, people would get their legs back in front. And then every time, at least for me, every time I would pass someone's guard and they would get their legs back in front, I would be a little bit more tired and more susceptible to submissions. And so one of the things I just want to bring to your attention for you guys, especially if you're having trouble with this kind of thing, is whenever you pass, we want to connect the hip with our knee. Let's turn this way just a little bit. With the knee, the hip, the other knee, the hand, anything that blocks against that near side hip will be useful. So again, control it, block it. Just be aware of it, be conscious of it, because again, if they cannot turn their legs down, if they cannot bring their legs in front, that's going to take away a lot of their guard retention options. Now there are other things they can do. They can also roll away and do the Granby roll and things like that, but again, this is going to kind of control the situation where they can't do those really basic guard retention maneuvers because they're not going to be able to bring that leg in front or be able to get their hip down to the ground. So that's just a basic tip for you guys that will help you with your guard passing. That was a simple one that made a big difference in my game. Hope it does the same for you. I'm finished. Adam?